looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling you need some kind of change. Standing tall on the wings of my dream, rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Rain and thunder, wind and haze, bound for better days. It's my life and my dream, nothing's gonna stop me now.
All right, welcome to TGIF. Tanner Grover invites friends. It is day number 15,526 of BME, and it is mentally draining, which is why I'm so glad that I've had perhaps my most mentally stimulating friend on the show today. He is the unequivocal king of Maine real estate, a former Houdini of the hardwood, and a real success story. He traded in the keys to handcuffs to the keys to your new home on the water at an affordable price. It is a pleasure. It's all about TCB, taking care of business, Batman Turner Overdrive style. Check your baggage at the door. It is Tyler Tibbetts. What's up, Ty?
Hey, not much, T. What's up, buddy? Thank you so much for the intro. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. I love chatting with you. And, you're going to lead me today. That's what I love about that. You're one of the most verbose and entertaining people I've ever met. And you've been drinking your coffee. So I know you've got the juices flowing, which is great. We might be in for a two-parter. I have no idea. But I do like to start off every episode with how we know each other. And I want to try to establish our DOF, which stands for date of friendship. So, what do you think it is, Ty?
I have a vague memory of like a Camp Knickerbocker encounter, and meeting your father and you somewhere between Grover's Hardware and the Crunchy Snail. If for those people who remember that donut shop back in the day. So
Wow,
yeah.
wow, Knickerbocker. All right, so I don't have any recollection of that at all. But I know I attended for a little bit. I remember some archery going on.
Sure, back when kids were like shooting BB guns and like bow and arrows at camp.
Yeah, yeah, but they don't do that anymore. I don't know. I don't know what goes on at camp.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Uh,
What's your memory?
So, I had it as, like, around 1993, and, I don't my memory is
Great year.
yeah, oh, solid year. So YBA, this is what I remember, Tyler. I remember
Ooh,
I remember meeting you, like, prior in the fall, and I almost think it was like a flag football scenario, a
could have
short-lived
been.
blue flag football league, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I'm gonna take all right, so I was in 5th grade, and the way YBA worked was you had your kind of initial Saturday where
Great memory.
all the
Great
coaches
memory.
would get together and they'd pick
Yep.
their teams. And
Yes.
so for me, Ty, it was super weird because I was literally like fucking 10 years old, and I'm in a room with like IJ, Donnie Lewis, Roger Drinkwater,
Ah,
Mike
God, I love
McDonald,
this. Love this.
Matt
Yes.
Parker,
Hmm.
and like we're going through the list of kids,
Legends. Just
all of
straight
them,
legends.
all of
Legend.
them. So we're going through the list of people signed up to play, and we're like drafting players one by one, right? And then they get around to me, and I was coaching with Roger, and
Oh God, this is great.
he would let me pick a player every other round, right?
Hey, you're
So
responsible for 50% of the team, though, bro.
so we get to like my turn to pick, and I'm looking at the list, and no shade to anyone in the league, but I'm looking at the names, And I'm like, I don't fucking want any of these people. Uh, you know, and they're like my friends too. You know, and I'm just
Oh,
like, I don't
yeah.
know.
That's how you
And so
become
then I'm
friends.
like, right, yeah, I know. So I'm like, all right, we got Thompson, we got Brew, we got like
Unbelievable.
we got Brett Brown, we got Sam Harris, and I'm
Yes.
like, all these guys love to shoot. We need a
Mhm.
big goofy dude to get some rebounds. And
For sure.
so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna draft Tyler
Oh
Tibbetts.
my God, this is
And
fabulous.
you're
I've never heard the draft room take because I have an interesting story how I became, yeah, keep going.
so anyway, I draft you and Donnie is looking at the list and he's like, damn it, he's not on here, you know? And I'm like, that's all right, I know him. I'm gonna call him up. He'll be on the team. It'll be fine. We were just like cool with it. And I remember calling you and you were like at home or whatever. And I was like, Tyler, we've practiced on Monday at 4. And you were just like, I didn't sign up. And I'm like, yeah, but we practiced Monday at 4. And you showed up.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's too funny. So I believe there is probably, so I think Cyrus Wilson takes some credit for signing me up because he was like, island boy, right? He was all over here on the island and he's like, dude, you got to do something. And I just remember showing up to my first ever practice, sweatpants. I think I had some BCKs and just killing. I think I had a Michael Irving t-shirt and Drinkwater was like, oh my God, like what is happening here? And yeah, and so it began. Yes, that's right. So I didn't start playing basketball until I was 12 years old. And
Yeah.
even then I didn't, and even then I had no idea what I was doing, you know. They're just like, hey, this gentleman right here is the star of the league. His name is Matthew Brown, and we need you to not allow him to catch the ball, rebound it, right, or pass to friends. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to do that? So, and I remember like racquetball gallery, like one-on-ones, like you, Roger, like teaching me like, here's where you stand on a foul shot. Cause like I literally knew nothing. Blank slate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Ron
Eric
Martell.
War no, was it Eric Main might have been on that team. The fiery
Eric,
redhead.
he
Yeah.
was. Eric May was totally on that team. I can't remember who else. I feel like a young Andy Brewer might have been
Yeah,
on there.
but potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember Ron Martell came in a
Mm-hmm.
few games into
Mm-hmm.
the season, and Ron was
God.
really the architect, I feel, of our YBA success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. uh that was too funny. So that's yeah, that's a profound memory of mine is like that year. And like I didn't understand that if you had a person who could dribble with their right and left hand and was the fastest person on the court, we were going to win every game. Mr. Matt Thompson.
Yeah,
And it was just unbelievable. You
it
know,
was so much fun, man.
learned a lot, learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, and like
Mhm.
I think now of kind of what kids go through. I mean, whatever coaching has occupied like a large portion of my life, and how early everyone starts now, and how I
So
think of
crazy.
like you and even like Leighton to a degree that like really
Right.
didn't take to it until later on, and
Mhm.
how you're fine, you were great, you know, and
W- Well, standing on the shoulders and the extra time and the commitment of other people, of course, I ended up great. I mean, I remember making the sixth grade travel team where Brian Moltis' mom had made us custom made basketball shorts that also looked like boxers, if you remember that.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, do you remember that? We were yeah, like yeah, like how to get sixth grade kids beat up in other towns. And I remember Matt Parker basically banishing me from the court and saying, "Listen, dude, if you can't throw that ball at the same brick, 100 times in a row, I can't let you practice with us." And yeah, dude, like hardcore coaching. Like kids would have quit, and I probably thought about it 100 times every throw, but I had nowhere else to go. Like, what was I gonna do? Walk to Burger King or or go sit in the lobby? Like, no, I guess I'll hang out here with my friends. But yeah, like there were because I had no idea how to shoot. You know, like
Oh, I
nothing.
remember.
Like I was like literally blank. But yeah, yeah. So those guys, Roger Drinkwater put in a lot of time. You, of course, Ron Martell, big time, and Matt Parker's. And it was good times, man. But from seventh grade, things clicked.
Yeah, how did that like? I've never really asked you how it clicked. I mean, I was just merely like an observer, kind of like everyone else. But I just kind of remember, like, as you already articulated, like going down to the line, spent a lot of time in the gym. We all play pickup, and then it felt like overnight it was like, holy shit! Like Tyler can shoot, Tyler can
Yeah,
dribble, and like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know, I don't know if you can like teach that to every individual person. I think that's something that's unique to you. But do you
Yeah.
remember kind of that taking hold?
I do. So I remember because, by the way, with love and respect to my parents, if you were off Southport Island after 6 p.m., which was essentially dinner time, they were not coming to get you. So you had to find your own way home. And oftentimes that was in the back of Anita Sherman's vehicle with Jack, or Cyrus, or Mike Wallace's grandfather, Stanley, and getting rides home. But um, I remember the fact that everybody was putting time into me. And it was like one of the first times in my life I was like, well, I should probably pay attention. Like these guys are like doing this for me, right? Like Jesus. So and then I remember how badly I wanted to quit because I sucked and I wasn't good. And I you know, I may be remembering this wrong, but I think we won the championship that year, and
Okay.
I think we stunned the world and beat who I don't know, I can't remember. I think the championship was against Matt Brown's team, and he was stud. But somehow we won that, and I just remember I never won anything, and I was like, this feels really good. And like those beginning granules of obsessive compulsive disorder, I'm like, maybe. And I had this learning style where I learned by watching rather than by doing. So like watching and being around people better than me really helped me tremendously. So I went from sixth grade, my sole job was to stand in front of Matt Brown, and every time get a rebound, I find Brew or Matt Thompson, and in a last ditch effort, I could throw to Sam Harris, um,
On the
and
left side.
going, yeah, only on the left side,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
going from like the world being that small, right, to like it growing a little bit when I was wearing checkered boxer shorts and like watching other sixth grade kids just smoke us. Um, and it was just really important for me to be around people that were better. And it just kind of clicked one day. I was like, hmm, okay, I can dribble now. I can dribble. I can shoot. I can miss, but I can shoot. And it was just a slow burn. But it was Denise Thompson signing me up for hoop camp. So Cyrus Wilson would take credit for signing me up for YBA. Ron Martell, Matt Parker's, you, Roger Drinkwater, of course. And then it was like that weird summer in sixth grade to seventh grade, like everybody's taller than me. Matt's taller than me. Smith's taller than me. Cameron Boyd's the tallest kid in school. And then finding my way to hoop camp. And that's when I was really like weird. And again, on the shoulders of other people. Denise Thompson signed me up, probably paid for it, and drove me there, dropped me off. And I'm like, I'm going to probably get in trouble. She's like, you can't get in trouble. Please don't get in trouble. They'll kick your ass out of here. And I was like, no, I won't get in trouble. And I ended up, it just gelled. It just kind of happened. But I mean, I'd only been playing basketball for like 18 months.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible, I don't know, man, your acceleration is singular in terms of people that I know from the Bruce Bay region. But it's
Yeah.
happened to other people,
Sure.
before, I mean, who knows? Maybe Jason Tatum, I have no idea.
Mhm.
But your story in the Bruce Bay region, I don't think people realize that. I think people,
Right.
from the outside looking in, always just looked at like, oh, it was like the Smith and Tibbetts era, and like
Hmm.
they were
Yeah.
always good and always dominant. And it was
Uh,
like, no, man, like Tyler, like started late and like,
mhm.
but we played all the time. And like, I just remember it was such a social thing too,
Th-
you know?
Dude, exactly. Nailed it. I mean, Mikey Brown. I mean, Mike Brown. If anybody ever remembers Mike Brown, I mean, he ended up going D2 in, Vermont. I mean, a silky lefty. And he and Eric Morrison, like putting this towel down and being like, dude, your jump shot is whack. And like, I'm a kid. But like they needed like an eighth dude for 4-on-4, and they're like, dude, I guess we'll take Tibbetts, and like I was off to the side, and they're like, dude, you need to jump straight up and land and not cross this towel on your jump shot. Like, because if not, you're out of balance. And I'm like, there's those little nuggets, those little gems, right? Those little pearls, like in your, you're looking up, this is Mike Brown, this
Sure,
Eric Morrison, like this, dude, he starts, like, like he's point guard, like what? And like these people that put in time, albeit minutes, but it actually compounded into hours because I would obsess about it, and like, okay, yeah, that's right, I'll do that, and I mean, maybe Ryan Casey doesn't remember this, but he taught me how Ryan Casey, right? Patented Ryan Casey reverse layup. Yeah, you watched him do it for 4 years at the varsity level. He's the one who taught me how to do a reverse layup. Then I go off to an AAU team and like, I swear I made the team because, I did an amazing baseline reverse layup and it was impressive. But I mean, just these little things. Yeah. I mean, no, it was never Tyler good all the time. In fact, I gave back to the community. I coached YBA for quite some time, and I still do a little coaching in a different town. I tell the story all the time. I'm like, listen, guys, hey, I was the worst player in seventh grade. My coach wouldn't allow me to practice with the team because I couldn't shoot correctly. I'm not going to help you, Tyler, by putting you out here and not changing your shot. That's back when coaches would change shots. I don't think they do that anymore. You know?
no, it's funny. I mean, like if we're gonna talk like fundamentals and like what is taught now,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like low release points. You even see that in the NBA,
Yeah.
and I think that's a byproduct of the game just extending like further and further away from the basket because players
Of
shoot
course.
from like 30 feet away now, and
Yeah.
so it's hard to do that if you're trying to like release the ball like above your
Mhm.
head, right? So they
Mhm.
just don't do that.
Mhm.
But let me I want to talk to you
Well,
about this a little. Yeah, go ahead.
real quick, last thing on the social aspect of it, because I think that's tremendously on point. I mean, this is back in an era where an unsung hero of the community is Donnie Lewis, and he instituted Friday night basketball because he knew the kids were going to get in trouble on Friday night,
Yes.
and you would go. And like this thing would like somebody would produce pizza, and like you'd eat pizza, and you had Teddy Lakeman, he was a star at the time, right? And he's like, hey, nobody on my team's drinking carbonation. He's like, drink water. He's like, nobody's getting cramps. Like it was serious, and like you played, and it was such an age bracket, if you remember, because Friday night basketball, anybody, boys, girls on the same team, 12-year-olds, 16-year-olds, big difference. And like I just remember sitting up in that like hawk's nest, if you will, at the Y and like watching like Greg Parker just, catching fire, Corey Frizzell, Mikey Brown, I mean, Ned Blake would show up and just, sit at the 3-point line, he was Antoine Walker before there was Antoine Walker. And but for somebody like myself with the learning style that I had, it was simply like it was like going to school. I like watched what worked and what didn't, what left-handed people do and what left-handed people didn't like to do. So, if my attention to detail and my coachability ever would have connected, probably would have been very good. But there was free will and personality. That happens from time to time.
That's
Uh,
but all
so
right.
anyhow, now the social aspect of basketball was tremendous for me. I grew up on an island. I had a tremendous amount of friends, and that's what they did, and it helped me out. You know.
Yeah. Socially, so I just want to talk. So, Merritt, my father, he's insane. He runs a hardware store and he's
Hmm.
a lovable lunatic. And so we were just, we rehashed Tyler Tibbetts stories. It's like, what are you going to talk to Ty about? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, what am I not going to talk to Ty
For
about?
sure.
And,
There's definitely. Well, I mean, that's part two, right? We'll take that offline.
yeah. Um, and let's just say, like, for lack of a better word, there were some hijinks that we kind of whatever went through throughout our high school years. And
Hmm.
I remember showing up to school the first day of my junior year, and I was late, right? And so I'm late to school, and Merritt's dropping me off, and Jack Turtle is like on the stairwell. And Merritt's like, "Hey, Jack, how's it going, man?" And he's like, "Merritt, I got to figure it out. You're going to be so glad. I found a way to keep Tyler Tibbetts eligible all senior year." And Merritt's
Yes.
like, "That's great, Jack." You know, I, I was just like,
Oh,
"Oh, man, I'm going to go to Spanish or whatever."
first day. Yeah. No, that became a thing. Um, you know, uh, you know, they the school, the administration made a call, like your best friend is going to be, Mary Patrick, the assistant principal, had a discipline. I had
Yep.
a I had a very well appointed desk outside her office, staring directly at a brick wall. And yeah, and I talked to him today. It's like, and every once in a while, this guy would come, who I didn't really know who he was, but he's kind of cool. He wasn't a teacher, and like we'd walk around the school and like we'd talk about feelings and like I was getting like I was really getting to know this guy, and little, lo and behold, right? It's like, oh, the school was trying to help me, and it was like I had Matt Carlson, and we were like running around, and yeah, they did. Boothbay Region High School did everything they possibly could have for me. They were fantastic, and I'm sure I was the bane of their existence at times, but the mutual respect, and I have probably written personal letters to most of those teachers in my as I matured and understood, like, holy shit, Tyler, like, really, like, hey, I just want to let you know, and get those letters out there. Yeah, I mean, like, it's pretty important. So um I had a great time, but yeah, we had some hijinks for sure. I mean, like, they trusted us with our own eligibility cards. Like, it
Yes.
was the honor system, T. Like, we had a yellow card that we had to walk around and get signatures on. And I let's just say it was a little tempting to, look at the week before and look at your teacher's signature and be like, yeah, I think I'm good. You know what? Creative writing, I think I'm really good. Zip, zip.
Oh.
Allegedly. And allegedly. And but yeah, it's that was wild times. Or the pledge. How about the pledge? I mean, we had, the high school had, in our binder, the keel, it had the pledge
Oh,
where you had
yeah.
to, yeah, sign your allegiance to, you know, being good. I mean, listen, I don't know if Smith ever got a phone call, which, by the way, I love. But like, I know my phone rang every day before a basketball game at 9 p.m. to check if Mr. Tyler Tibbetts was at home where he was supposed to be for curfew. You know, uh, so I mean, Mr. Pinkham, God rest his soul. Like, we chatted most nights.
Yeah.
He was just making sure that I was where I was supposed to be on time, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Ty, and like I feel like this is something that for better, it's for worse. It's not for better, but it happens like every 20 years or so. But like we entered high school right on, or you were there, I think, as a freshman. I was an eighth grader on the heels of the Eric Morrison, Tony Heisen, Nick Knowlton, Soccer
Brett
Valley debacle, where
debacle. Yep,
you know
correct.
the 8 team beat the 1 team, and it's kind of a known quantity that the one team was out partying the night before and didn't
Potentially,
show.
allegedly,
Yeah,
allegedly.
yeah, well, whatever, man. But they didn't really show up to Augusta,
Yeah,
for better or worse. And
yeah.
I don't know. I think like maybe we're under. I don't think we're under a microscope per se, but I think there's just that much more awareness of like, hey, like we have a chance to do something
Absolutely.
special, and like
Yeah.
people really, we're rooting for us and pulling for us. Um,
The recognition, right? Like when you see a shooting star, right? The recognition of not only are these dudes real good at basketball, but like most of these guys also play football, and our classmates, I mean, were fantastic, lady Seahawks and field hockey players, and they're like this group of like two or three or four grades, is just ripe with athletic talent, and if we could just keep them together and not let them implode, at a pit party or the gorge or various other spots in town, like, and make them all
my
sign
house.
this. Yeah.
Uh,
Or businesses in town. It's just like, maybe we can all have this moment, right? Like, again, the shared sacrifice. Like, I can't tell you how many, players from, you know, previous teams, Mike Cook, Dan Williams, Phil Page, Matt Parkhurst, Dave Parkhurst, Merritt Grover, who's like, hey, like it didn't ever click for us. You guys have a chance to do something super special. And like they tried to impress it upon a group of 17 and 18-year-old kids to like savor it, don't take it for granted. I mean, I for one, I wish I could sit here and say like I drank up every second. I did not, but looking back fondly, I mean, like, dear God, I mean, Trey did not play basketball, but I watched his high school team for 4 years, and it's like, man, if they won like 10 games, they were in love, and
yeah,
like I don't think we lost 10 in
no,
4 years,
I don't think we did, Ty. And
you know.
I do want to talk about Trey and fatherhood and all that. But I want to stick with this for another minute. And one thing that I don't think I've ever expressed this to you, but like this is a show about like friendship and like just exploring not just the topical stuff that we did, but like actual feelings and like I want to convey something to you. But like we go through high school and the year we are supposed to win is
Yep.
your senior year, and we don't win, right? And um, obviously, like it was devastating for everyone, but especially devastating for the graduating seniors. And my senior year, we come back, and it's funny. It's like the adulation that was felt during like your tenure as a Seahawk it diminished a little bit, like the crowds were a little bit smaller my senior year, and people like didn't have as much confidence that we were going to get back to the
Mhm.
mountaintop, and we did. We win, and I go back and I look at that state championship footage from my senior year, and if you look at the Channel 7 version, whenever they're playing on the crowd, there's Tyler Tibbetts front and center. You got your hair spiked up,
Yep.
and you're just in all kinds of crazy garb, losing your mind and going mental. And I think Ian said it best after the game. He said something to the effect of like, that win wasn't just for us, it was just for all the people before us. And, I think sometimes, like, by not being a part of that, you could have been like bitter very easily. And
Mhm.
maybe there is some of that, like, you never expressed or never told or whatever. But in that moment, you just seemed so genuinely happy that we were able to win. I mean, you were the first person down to rush the floor and I think tackle Leighton. And
For sure.
I wanna I don't know, I wanna, like, thank you in a way just
Mm.
for, like, for being there, and it means a lot, man, it really does, and, I hope that you feel that what Ian said about, um, winning that game for all the anyone that's ever worn a Seahawks uniform, and especially for IJ, most of all, right?
Well,
I hope that you feel that you were a part of that because you truly were.
uh, I have a few thoughts on that, and I appreciate tremendously those words. Um, like when you have a child and you're moving houses, and inevitably, uh, there's the box, right? The box of things, and it's usually tucked away in a closet, and it's got stuff written on it. And Trey is like 10 years old, and he's like, hey dad, like what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's the box of who I used to be, because like he only knows me as dad. And there is a photo of Matt Thompson and I embracing after we beat Winthrop, to and it is still framed in my personal office today, because it's just pure joy. And then, every once in a while, I don't know, somebody had a tape, or maybe it was my mom, and that game is, somewhere on tape. It lives. And there's a photo of me, or a video of me cutting down the net, and Trey was like, Dad, where'd that net go? And I'm like, well, that net went around somebody's neck that was extremely special, not only to me personally, but to a community, and like, it was incredible to share that with you. And I never viewed like the junior class and the senior class as two separate classes. Like I just thought we were a team, you know, like there's this weird outsider perception of like seniors, juniors, and like I with pride talk about how I single-handedly improved Bobby Deachin's high school career strictly by poor behavior and giving him minutes. Um,
Uh,
but there is this unbelievable attachment that I have, or I think I speak for everybody, that everybody had to the juniors. And I'll tell you right now, I was probably the first person on the floor, and I ran by two security guards screaming, "You better not go on the floor." And they were not going to stop me from going on that. Now, after that embrace with Leighton, which I believe is the first hug, and that's just because Michael and I share a tremendous bond. But I, Mr. Pinkham and I had a private moment, and I mean, I have my face painted, I have glitter in my hair, it's spiked out, like I'm wearing a yellow and blue rugby shirt from Abercrombie. I'd literally just bought on the way there, and like literally foolish looking. And Mr. Pinkham takes me over, and with tears in his eyes he said, "It should have been you guys. I'm sorry it wasn't." And I said, "No, no, this is for us." And so to hear Velvet say those words, and I can't remember what community function it was at, or after the game when he had a microphone in his face, an incredible point guard, like, that he echoed the sentiment of everybody, like we were a team, that's just like, it was super, super special. And you know, have I been drunk at a bar before, and pontificating about how we softened up Class C so our bench could win a gold ball? Of course, but at the same time, that is obviously tongue in cheek, and incredibly proud of those guys. And I think our friendship remains very strong to this day. Some of the best men, husbands, and future fathers I ever knew were on that basketball team. I'm talking about guys that are still with their wives and raising children to this day and raising good human beings. And, you know, doctors, people that are working in our communities, and just incredible group of people.
I'll
You
even vouch
include
for
you
oh,
included.
thanks, man. Thanks, man. I'll even vouch for the fringe few who may have fallen off the wagon. I love them too. Yeah.
Oh, of course, man. Like this, and everybody's on a journey. Got to let that love light shine.
Yeah.
So no, it's good. But no, those were special times, and I yeah, those were good ones. Those were good ones.
Probably my favorite artifact, and I love the fact that expressed that there was no, we were a team. It wasn't junior, senior. We were
Never.
always a group. And I even think it extends beyond that. I think, for people that enjoyed that moment, I hope that it extended all the way back to like Coach Bacon's first team, in
For sure.
1978. It did for Merritt. I know that.
Absolutely. I
Um,
mean, T, I had people coming up, 10 years after the fact, like, hey, did you know, like, you guys were like one of the few teams other than obviously Class A that all your starters were over 6 feet tall. Like, did you know that? Or like, did you know like you almost sold out the Civic Center when you played Winthrop, like just those little factoids, or like, talk about ripping chests open. I'll never forget leaving Augusta and looking up and seeing a community crying, and it was like an entire community, and
sure, sure.
it was like, I mean, like, I'm talking little children, to parents, to the next generation, and you're like, holy shit, this meant something to everybody,
Yeah.
and then for those dudes the next year to like literally come from the ashes and run the gauntlet and do it in Bangor, and with Smooth, as part of it. I mean, like, dude, like, huge deal. And it meant something to everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we gotta talk about Smooth a little bit because what I was gonna say, I got a little sidetracked. One of my favorite artifacts, we have this tape that I've actually uploaded online, Seahawk Candidates 99 2000 from your
Oh
senior
yeah.
year. And God love Blaine
Is
Noonan
it
for
is it
helping
is
us
it
to that.
edited by chance?
I did take the liberty to edit some NSFW
Yep. Yep.
scenes from it. Um,
Yep.
uh, yeah, one thing that made the cut though is you and Williams, with let's just call it rubbing. You have some DNA amongst the hallways of the high school, and on Billy Hardwick in particular, and he
Hmm.
took it like a man. But I think
Like,
the same. Yeah, go ahead.
stoic, right? Just unbelievable. Like a stoic, stone face assassin, who ended up actually having a stellar career at USM, and like just big fundamental, right?
Yeah,
High shot, body, takes up some space, good
I think
jumper.
what you did for Bobby, I feel like Bobby in turn did for Billy by kicking the shit out of him every day at
Correct.
practice. You know?
Correct. Correct. You
Yeah,
know, Unbelievable.
that's cool, man. So all right, tell me, so Trey graduated, right?
Trey's 18 years old. He graduated from Lincoln Academy. Um, that seemed like a good fit for Trey. His sister went there and
Yep.
did extremely well. But yeah, listen, I'll tell you right now, when your son looks at you and is like, "Hey, Dad, I'm not really sure I like basketball." Like, you got a moment. There's a moment as a parent, right? Do I impose my will and say, I really think you should like basketball, and here, let me help you like it, like Volin told you to like it, or do you wrap your arms around them and help them find something that they love? So I became extremely passionate about basketball at a young age because my peers were, as a social outlet, and to be honest, I liked the challenge. Sometimes I hated basketball, but but Trey came to me and was like, "Hey man, this basketball thing, it kind of sucks." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Cool, man. What do you want to do?" He's like, "I think I'm gonna sing and dance, and I'm gonna, run it in Y Arts." I love you. Let's do this thing. So, it went from watching, a young LeBron James, on Sports Center to, Susical Jr., Music Man, Secret Garden, and really wrapping your head around like, all right, so this is parenting. Wow. Wish I would have got this class in school, you know? Damn. So it was it's something that's very special to me. My father was a tremendous baseball player and had absolutely no interest in basketball. And
Yeah,
I played basketball, and Trey had absolutely no interest in basketball and did his own thing. So like we all kind of have our individual, you know, likes. But I'll tell you, I I was like, all right, cool. So I guess I'm done coaching. So I found, like, for instance, Owen Johnson. Think about a kid like that, right?
right.
Started young and just, literally had to let off the gas and YBA. A young Nathan House. I never had the opportunity to coach Levi Bartholomew, but I did think that would have been a good match for me. But anyhow, to like watch these young dudes like really get into it, it was at Chris Noonan, it was unbelievable. You know, it was really special.
Let me ask you about like Trey's foray into musicals and whatnot. Because here's the thing, I don't know if like uh, I feel like very few people really get this about me, but I'm so closely associated with basketball that there's a part of my personality that wants to run away from it and not be like defined by that, right?
Good
And
for you.
so
Good for you.
yeah, well, and it's been tough because I mean, like, I still go out in public and I have people like call me coach in the middle
Yeah,
of Portland that I haven't seen in forever, but that's just what I'm known as, and that's like,
absolutely.
I haven't coached since 2017. But or whatever. Uh, but it's so like by Trey's interests, have you found that that's made you like just a more well-rounded individual? Like, do you know musicals, Tyler? Do you like
Yeah.
know different stuff?
So part of the story that maybe not everyone knows is, after high school, I kind of bounced around and tried to major in basketball at various schools and then kind of found my way through back surgery, right? But to something else. But I met a woman who was a little older than me, Sandy Timberlake, and she had children, Nicholas and Noel. And when you're 20 years old, and you're like hanging out and like trying to be like an adult, you're not close to an adult, so you kind of grew up. I kind of grew up like with her children, and Noelle was the very first one that like enjoyed the shows and Broadway and music, and like she like was teaching herself how to play piano, and it was like, right, like you dive into that. So by the time Trey comes along, and Trey's like having a hard talk with me, he's like, hey, geez, Dad, I'm gonna sit down and have this talk with you. I'm not gonna live out your lifelong dream of me becoming a basketball star. And I'm like, okay, cool, what are you gonna do? And he's like 7, and he's like, I'm gonna be in musicals. I'm like, cool. So yeah, you learn real quick, right? So like, it's too funny that we're even talking about this. I actually just sent a private message to somebody that was a part of my life in high school that kind of opened my eyes to Broadway musicals and Rent, and Jonathan Larson and Tick Tick Boom, and I kind of nerded out on like that world privately, of course, because like, I mean, just like you, right? You kind of formulate an identity of like probably somebody who's insubordinate, who has some oppositional defiance, who somehow is pretty good at basketball. He's a great guy, laughs and jokes, also could be trouble. I think that kind of ended up being my identity. But like at the end of the day, I was like reading poetry and like trying to understand like how do you become a screenwriter, like, and like how do you do that, and like, and can you do that? And these people had some success, and like that's amazing. And I was just fascinated by that world. So interestingly enough, Trey chooses it, and I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm good for this. This is something I actually understand and I'm interested in. So we kind of met in the middle on that.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
interesting. You mentioned both screenwriting and poetry. Screenwriting, hey man, I can help you out with that. I've done some.
that ship has
Uh,
sailed for me, my friend.
yeah, well, me too. But Tyler, so like in like prepping for this, I don't know why I did this. This is like my OCD shining through.
Yeah,
But
come on, bring
back
it.
back in the day of AOL Instant Messenger, AIM, right?
Yeah,
For whatever reason, I would notice that you would change your bio once in a while, and
good memory.
you would write a
Good
poem,
memory.
but it would be a poem, okay?
Yes,
And you
good
had a
memory.
series of like AOL Instant Messenger poems, and
Yes, good
I
memory.
I copied them and I saved them to a file.
That's
And
good. I love to hear that.
I was trying to do a deep dive on my hard drive to see if I could pull them up, and I couldn't find them. But I'm gonna look after the fact when I have a little bit more time and see if I can pull up the Tyler Tibbetts poem collection. I think it's gonna
Yes.
put it'll put Walt Whitman to shame. Um,
Listen. As per the usual, right? You know, shockingly enough, the semi with love, troubled soul from a small island on, off of Maine is a sensitive human being, and I just it was an outlet for me when I needed one, and it was private, and probably my technological ignorance was like, oh, probably nobody can see this or nobody understands or whatever. And, and it was probably out there for the world. I've done that, so that's funny. Good for you. I remember some of those. So that's funny, T. That's good.
yeah. Well, I don't mean to put you on blast or whatever. I hope I don't embarrass you or anything like that. But
Oh,
I
no, not at all.
remember, I just remember reading this and being like, holy shit, man, Tyler's like deep. And then I think in
For
my
sure.
own way, I was like, I just want to like make sure I have this, because I feel like it needs to be saved. And I know it's
Yeah.
saved somewhere. And I will, if I
That,
come across it, I'll definitely let you know.
well, that melts my heart. Thank you, T. But yes, Tyler is deep, there's some depth, and it was something, and to this day is something that I enjoy doing, so like, it's just a part of who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me give you my brief Broadway story. So you ever seen Saturday Night Fever?
Yes.
Okay. But I mean the movie and the play production.
I have not seen the play. I've seen the movie multiple times. I mean,
Okay.
come on, Travolta.
So
Let's get real here.
for real, so I hadn't. I had not seen
Mhm.
the movie. But then I went to the play, right?
Yeah.
And so I go to the play, and then toward the end, like it's just at Main State Music Theater in Brunswick,
Yeah.
and the dude falls off the bridge.
Hmm.
And I yell an audible, "Holy shit," in the theater. Like, I don't know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
And, like, everyone else looks at me like, "Come on, man, like, don't you know the movie?" And I was like, "I don't know what's happening." But I was so taken aback in that moment. And, the element of surprise, seeing a
Hmm.
play production 30 something years after the movie comes out, and sometimes I wish there was a way to, like, erase the part of my brain that has seen, like, Wayne's World, a
I
100
know.
times, so I could
Yeah.
experience it for the first time and just re-love all those jokes,
Yeah.
But that's kinda
Yeah.
what that moment was for me.
That's too funny. So mine was an English teacher came to the high school named Mark Gorey. And probably one of the signatures I signed myself on a on an eligibility card somewhere, because like he and I had this very well. So for anybody who doesn't know, Miss Patrick used to be an English teacher, you know, and that was her thing. So my assignments when I wasn't in real class and sitting in that desk looking at the brick wall was to write her something, write me something, anything. I don't care, just write. And I would write. And and I'd hand it to her, and she'd edit it, and we'd talk about like depth and metaphors and imagery, and then Mr. Glory comes to the high school, and I'm getting a D- in his class because like that's who identity crisis, right? That's who I need everyone to believe. But then I'm staying after class, and he and I are talking about like T.S. Eliot, and we're breaking down things, and like I had a passion for it that I didn't let anybody in to know. And it's just it was really, really important. And my like play production, like we went to a Christmas Carol, and I don't know what school or who or what age, but I remember going to a Christmas Carol and just being like, whoa, be like, they built the set, like there's a dude running the lights, and like I was mesmerized and was like, whoa, like I felt something, and I'm like, that was cool, I like that. And then have this high school relationship, and that person was tremendously into theater and Broadway and like singing and writing, and I'm like, oh well, this actually coincides with a part of me, and just kind of further go down that road. And like I remember seeing Rent when I was like an 18 years old, at the Wang Theater in Boston, and being like, you could feel their voice in your chest, and I'm like, whoa, and I liked it. So it was just, that's part of who I am. And I
That's
didn't
cool,
know that.
man.
It's through self-discovery, right? Come from a place of yes, don't say no, and just do it.
I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. So one thing I want to talk about, and I know we probably got limited time here.
I'm
Maybe
good.
10.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I gave you a bunch of time. You're not holding
Okay.
me up.
Cool. Cool. I'm glad. So I run this free movie group. I started it last September, where I basically rent out Harbor Theater once a month. It's not super expensive or anything like that, but I open it up to the community. We show a free film. It's basically my excuse to see movies I've never seen before on the big screen. And yeah, it's
I love it.
yeah, it's purely selfish. Um, but movies. I have this vivid memory of going to Harvard Theater with you. I want to say it's got to be 1998. So I'm probably a freshman, you're a sophomore, and we went to a midnight showing of Saving Private Ryan, and you were like,
Yes.
"It's a Hanks movie. We gotta
Yeah.
go. It's a
We got
Hanks
to
movie."
go. Still to
Yeah.
this day. To this day,
Yeah.
man.
But we went there. It was awesome. But all right. So part of what I do is, we show the movie and then we have an open mic discussion, and then people can recommend films. I don't really. I did take suggestions. Actually, I take that back. In January, there was a cry out for Stand By Me, fantastic movie. So we
Very
watched
good.
Stand By Me, yeah. But what what's a film that you've never seen on the big screen that you would love to, or what's your go-to film or your desert island film? What's your favorite movie type?
Oh man, on the spot. So real quick, a little plug for Harbor Theater. I donate to the Harbor Theater. That was a part of my childhood. If you were a Y rat, you ended up at the theater for all the devilish reasons that young kids end up at theaters alone in dark rooms. But I, it's a tremendous waypoint in the life of Tyler Tibbetts. But I donate to the Harbor Theater because I think it's a gem. Because listen, I see the entire state of Maine in my role as a broker, and there are movie theaters shuttered through in towns across the state of Maine, and it may not, it may not be as shiny as they want to be, but I assure you it's worth its weight in gold. Because when you can drive 10 or 15 minutes and see a film, in the community in which you live and work, I mean, that's tremendous. And I believe strongly in film. My first time I ever cried in a movie theater was at the Harbor Theater. And I just remember, yeah, it's just a super special place, and I suggest everybody donate to it. Anybody that can, even $5 helps those guys. So keep the lights on and keep that place going. It's a gift to the community.
First
My
time you
fa-
ever cried. What was it? Steel Magnolias? What were we talking here? First time you ever
belie-
cried.
You're gonna laugh at this. So I happened to be at the Y late one day, and all my other friends were hanging out with each other, and I was young. And an older guy by the name of Tony Shane said, "Hey, let's go catch this movie." So first time I ever cried at a theater, Tony Shane, Forrest Gump, and I just remember like, wait, what? And I remember Tom Hanks, right? Tom Hanks again, and I remember that there were people in that theater crying and standing up clapping, and I was young, and I'm like, what? Like, what is this? What's happening? Again, like, back, like, similar to the Broadway thing, like, if something reaches in and touches me, I love what I like, and I really liked it. um my guilty pleasure, my favorite movie of all time, is Silver Linings Playbook. um
Yeah,
that's one for me. um I have I've never seen it. I never saw it in theaters. It was one of those movies that came to me through a suggestion, and I watched it, and I can't explain it. I think it's tremendous, and so yeah, I think the acting's superb. So I don't know. I like that one. That's the one that I have seen that movie probably more than any other movie ever.
that's cool, man. I'll share this. My favorite film, if you whatever, like put me on a desert island, it's What's
Hmm.
Eating Gilbert Grape. That's my
Yeah,
go-to.
yeah,
Yep.
that's a great one. I
Yeah.
took a year off from the Harbor Theater. It was imposed upon me rather than I elected to take it off. Twice I tried to break into the movie Striptease underage, and they basically said, "Hey, dude, you're out of here for a year." So I did my time, and when I went back, I came back in full force, and now I'm a supporter. And that just seems to be the pathway for me. I gotta, so-
I I didn't have to break into striptease because Mike Thomaselli and Bobby Deacon gifted me VHS copies for my 8th grade birthday of
yeah.
striptease and showgirls double
This is what I'm
feature.
saying. But this was like this. They were showing it, and I was just trying to get in because I was interested in the plot. And
I think it's Burt Reynolds' best work.
so it's Silver Linings Playbook. Absolutely for sure. And it's what it is. Gilbert Grape's a great one too. That's
Sure.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Let me ask you real
What
quick about music. I see you at the
what
Supper
about new
Island
what about new movies?
new
Anyone?
movie.
What about anyone that hits you?
So here's what I'll tell you right now is I think I'm a little disillusioned with the way comic book movies have kind of like
Dude,
just eaten up
dude,
space
dude,
for like smaller independent films. But I
for
think we've
sure.
seen a great resurgence in horror movies
Hmm.
most recently. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Weapons, but
No.
I highly recommend to check out the movie Weapons.
Well, so what's your thoughts? So I have several thoughts. Like, where do you land on the remaking of old movies, like remaking of Jumanji, remaking of Aladdin? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, they've been remaking movies for forever, and if it's done well, I'm not opposed to it, but it's like,
Have they
I don't
run
know.
out of ideas? Have they run out of ideas? We're doing Marvel and
They
just remaking old ones? Come
they
on,
haven't
dudes.
run out of they haven't run out of ideas. What they've run out of are ways to get people to buy tickets to the movie theater, hence all the remakes.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a good point.
an
Um,
original movie won't draw.
what's your thoughts on This Is Us?
Like the television show?
No, the movie.
I
Or
haven't
this
seen it.
ends with us. The the one that was pretty controversial, ended up Blake Lively and all that stuff.
That the
This,
Netflix
yeah,
one. Yeah, I didn't see it. I don't know, man.
saw it. I
You
saw it in
saw it?
theaters. I thought it in theaters. It was super powerful, and then the controversy happened, and it kind of like took it
Did
away,
it,
like
did it really
took that
get?
magic away. You know, did Wuthering Heights recently. That's dude. No one told me it was super dark. I like, what the hell? I was buying the tickets. Like, yeah, hey, I'll have some popcorn, and like, whatever, Swedish fish, and like, he's like, cool, you excited for this movie? I'm like, yeah, man, it's date night, and like went in and like left was like, what? Knew nothing about it. Just went in
Yeah.
cold. Not recommended.
No,
Yeah,
no.
dude,
Isn't
dude.
that the same guy that did? I think Nosferatu did Wuthering Heights. And do you know Nosferatu?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's super like big image, dark, like not a love story, just so we're clear.
yeah.
Oh man, dude. Yeah.
Did you see? Did you see Frankenstein?
Not yet. Not yet. Thoughts?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was
Okay.
great.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep. I think I like what Guillermo del Toro does in general, just from like a visual standpoint. But I was
Hmm.
entertained. I mean, that movie is like 2.5 hours long. It's broken
Yeah.
down into two parts.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too, though, is I want to be in and out with a movie. I like a 90-minute movie, and I think that
Whoa.
like movies are too long
Is there
nowadays.
is there a better parenting like teaching tool than a movie? Like I look back on like, these moments with our children where you had to like explain something hard. And I think I got this from my college professor. I went into the sociology of life class, whatever, some elective, and this dude showed movies, and like he was known as the movie guy, and but the life lessons that were embedded in the films that he chose to show us, I kind of grappled onto that and was like, I'm gonna put this in my tool bag, because I'm gonna need to use this later. So, like I remember sitting down with Trey and watching the movie The Help. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and like, yeah, let's explain this topic, or certain other movies with his sister, or like they're such a mirror image of how we're going about life, and it's not us, and like they can watch it, feel it, see it. And I don't know. I think they're profound tools for everyone.
I think
If,
that we grew up in this era of like kid actors starring
Mhm.
in movies, and I think a lot of that has been replaced with animation. And not that there's not a lot of great animation out there, but I always felt fortunate that I could relate to films like The Mighty Ducks, The Sandlot,
Dude, exactly.
even like Ladybugs or something. You
But I
know?
mean the message alone in both of those movies, right? Like there's tremendous lessons in both of those movies. The Sandlot in particular. You
Yep.
know, I couldn't agree more. And I was actually trying to think of, Stand by Me is a great one.
Sure,
But
Goonies or like I don't know, man.
mhm.
Even a movie like The Monster Squad. I don't know if you know what that is.
What
It's basically
about? I mean, how many of our generation cried at the end of Hook? Rufy.
sure,
Oh,
yeah,
like,
sure,
wait,
for real,
what? And it's just like, you got to believe,
yeah,
let your imagination run. As somebody who is probably a professional at having Peter Pan disease, never wanting to grow up. I
yeah,
mean, like, just these movies, like, I remember, God, and or often is lost on like how amazing The Wizard of Oz was when it came out. Like
sure.
groundbreaking, like color, like I mean, like what? Look at the storyline, like how'd they do this? Like, their visual effects, if you will. Like when did it come out? You probably know, I don't, but like, I mean,
1930 something.
that's
It's
what I'm
in the
saying.
30s. Yeah,
You're like, what?
yeah.
And we can't find the
Oh,
moon landing film? Get real, dudes. Sorry, that's a different topic.
yeah. That's a part two. Uh, uh, I want to just touch upon
Music.
like, but in particular, this is what happens to me every January, Tyler. Every January, I get fatigued and exhausted by the winter, and then all these concerts get announced for the year, and I just
Mhm.
buy up tickets and I go to shows, and then I forget about them like a week before I'm supposed to go. But it's
And then
great because like
the phone notification goes off, and you're like, "Shit, I got a show."
right, yeah.
Yeah,
But what's a live? Is I know you love music.
for
What's a
sure.
what's like either what's a live show that moved you?
Oh, dude, I'm so glad you asked this. So, first of all, I think some thank yous are in order. You were the first person to introduce me to Vampire Weekend. Uh, I think I got it in an email, and I might have been rolling Hotmail at the time. Who knows? But I remember clicking on that and being like, "What?" And talk about going down the rabbit hole. Like you took me away with that link. And I don't know if you remember sending those, but I'm like, what is this? And like, what kind of name is this? And what is this? And just absolutely loving it. Yeah, I do love shows and so Langhorne Slim and the Law. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No, I'm not.
Um, so Langhorne Slim and the Law is basically a single dude with a band called The Law. And he's from Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Anyhow, he opened for the Lumineers, and the Lumineers was Trey's first live show.
Okay.
This was back when they played Thompson's Point, and I don't have any idea. It was 2019, 18, I don't know, 17, who knows. I know CYY was there, so that was still a thing. But Langhorne Slim stood on the stage at Thompson's Point and sang Airplane to a friend that had just passed away, and there wasn't a sound. Like it's like even the highway was quiet. And I remember being emotionally moved by that. And we got to like Trey and I, the way where we were standing, like where he came off stage and he came to like speak to CYY, and the woman was crying. She was emotional, like the woman who was supposed to be there for CYY, because it was so well done. And I remember we gave him a fist bump on his way by. So that was, and then that was Trey's first live concert, Lumineers, and they crushed it. But Dispatch. So I
Yep.
went to Dispatch a few years ago, and they from like Jump Street, it was so jammy. They were so interactive with the crowd at Thompson's Point. They played until they turned the sound off. It was incredible. That was probably one of the few shows I've been to where like the crowd and the performers and the musicians and the artists were like we were all just there together. Like nobody had their phone, people weren't Snapchatting and taking selfies, like we were there. And that was a tremendous show. The most emotional one that I remember lately was JJ Grech. He played the state a couple years ago, and southern rock kind of guy, deep. I think his wife's an attorney. She like lets him do this on the side. But small venue, the state, as you know, and like you could like feel each other's like breath, like, and it was really, really well done. And again, he played till the very end and was like, for a crowd of whatever, I don't know how many tickets they sell, 500. He's like, thank you. It just, I mean, live music, I mean, is unbelievable.
It is,
And
man.
yeah, and listen, Matt Parker's again, there he comes up again. He like pokes his head up again. My first ever show, Matt Parker's took me to. Johnny Lang, Blues Traveler, right? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Lewiston, Maine, of all things, again with the relationship in high school, like meeting Rustic Overtones, who was just this, these dudes who hung out in an apartment, and at night went on the streets and played. Like I remember getting bit by that bug super early, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of my concert going experiences, I really got to credit to Eric Morrison. He took me to my first, what I would consider proper rock concert, and it was a Cake at the State Theater.
Whoa. Yeah.
Seeing Cake was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Trey, if Trey was sitting here, he'd tell you that Maggie Rogers, he went to the Maggie Rogers show
Yep.
and he's like, whoa. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you have no idea. He's like, it was amazing, like super talented.
Yeah.
So now live music is tremendous, especially for someone who has, listen, my grandmother was the organist at a Methodist church. That's where the music ends here, and I'm like, I'm so appreciative of people who share their art that way and share their gift. It's tremendous. And if I walk in anywhere where there's live music, you got to be the loudest one clapping. You better tip them, because like it takes a set to set up there and do that, especially if it's
Oh,
original stuff.
yeah.
Especially if it's original stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So
I have an artist for you to check out just based on everything you were saying, and maybe you know him already, I'm not sure. MJ Lenderman, younger
no.
guy. I think he's from North Carolina. Kind of a southern rock, indie southern rock
hmm
vibe.
hmm
But I think you would dig him. MJ Lenderman.
Well, listen, I like to think that I was listening to Camp before they got big, because I had some. I like to think that. I don't know if it's real or not, but I have some clients in Ohio that were like, "Hey, man, like these local guys are killing it." He's like, "If you ever want to listen to this," and like I was like listening to, his raspy voice and that banjo in the back for years, and then all of a sudden, and they just got
Huge.
huge,
Huge.
huge,
Huge.
huge, and but coincidentally, one of the worst shows I've ever seen, live was, at
Oh,
Thompson's Point. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that show, but it was not good.
I didn't, but I will tell you the worst show live I've ever seen was at Thompson's Point. I think it was 2, maybe 3 years ago. Counting Crows.
Oh,
Awful.
really? Shocking.
Awful. Yeah.
Uh,
Also, oddly, probably the drunkest crowd I've ever been around, and
Counting Crows.
I did not peg Counting Crows fans as, like, booze hounds.
Shocking, actually. So we went to see Brothers Osborne to try to like you should mix it up, right? You're gonna go to Ben Harper, JJ Gray. We'll throw Brothers Osborne in there, Dispatch, Camp, Lumineers. And it's like, went to this Brothers Osborne show at Thompson's Point, and like people were throwing bottles because they were lip syncing. I mean,
Oh,
it was so obvious they were not playing, and I can't explain why. I mean, like multiple people that are at that show were like, these dudes are not playing, and I'm like, and I'm in the back like, really? But Dispatch won the day there. That was an incredible concert.
yeah.
They did it right. Um, I'm trying to think. We just caught a show. Uh, damn, I'm gonna forget it. We just caught a show at the Wilbur in March. Was it
Yep,
the
I've been
Revive?
there.
Was it the yeah? Which is a comedy club, but every once in a while they host a band, and the Lone Bellows maybe kicking off their tour, or the Revivalists. I'll remember it. But you don't know. Anyhow, so we caught that show. There was like, I don't know, 47 people there, and they murdered it. They crushed it. It was awesome. Like, I don't know, music's a thing.
That's cool, man.
Well,
That's
I mean,
cool.
like you got a pretty good sensei in Eric Morrison. I mean, like with all things considered, I remember that dude like being nocturnal and like, just rolling music, like just exuding creativity and appreciation for music and music lovers. Through my high school career, we were in the same spot a bunch of times, and
Yeah.
um, we were in the same spot a bunch of times, and I just remember him never sleeping and just having this tremendous, you know, array spectrum of music, and you're like, wow, you know. So good one for you there.
Oh, yeah. No, very fortunate to be taken under Eric's wing in that regard for sure.
Hmm
Uh, Let me ask you, I got one final question for you, Todd, um, that I ask everyone. So, all right, my grandmother passed away in 2008, and she had lung cancer. She was 78 years old, and when she was on her deathbed, she had this very profound kind of statement to me. And she was like, Tanner, my one regret in life is that I never allowed myself to have an ice cream sundae every time that I wanted one. And I'm just thinking like to myself, here's this like sick old lady, and all
Yeah,
she wants is an ice
amazing.
cream sundae.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I asked this of everyone because I think of it, in a metaphorical sense of like,
Mhm.
what is your ice cream sundae? What fills you up, or maybe what's on your bucket list? But you can take the freedom to answer it any way you like. But yeah, I'm curious. What's your ice cream sundae?
Um, wow, that's a special moment that you had with her. I hope you consider yourself lucky to have it. I was actually physically present for a similar moment. It was not directed at me. My grandfather, my father's father, who was passing away, and knew he was passing away. They had just told him that day, and he said, "Bring me my grandson," which is Trey, by the way, his only, you know, great grandson. And Trey's, I don't know, 10 years old, 11 years old, actually 12, 12 years old, and he's like, what? And I'm like, we got to go, man. And similar, I listened to a man who just been told he was passing away, laying in a bed, imposing his will upon Trey, right? Using that as all the leverage you can use, like, hey, you got to listen to me because like this is our talk. And it was all about that, right? Like use the good china, you know, don't buy a boat. Look at a guy and yeah, don't buy a boat from a lobsterman. Like, don't buy a boat. Use the good china. Eat ice cream, eat dessert first. When you shake somebody's hand, look in their eye. Don't tell someone 1 minute when you have a minute. Like, and I listened to potentially the best messaging this man had ever done and I listened through the ears of my young son at the foot of his dying bed when he was letting him know, like, I'm laying here with regret. Don't do it. So I think there's a metamorphosis that kind of happened there. It was like, 2019, the world shuts down for COVID, and start eating your dessert first. You start kind of living for you because you don't want to end up in that bed having that talk with your grandson or great grandson. And I'll tell you, one thing that I have not been able to do a lot, and it's how my life played out. I didn't have my 20s. By the way, I'm happy with how that all went down, but I didn't have them. I was in a relationship with a woman who ended up being a fabulous partner and a good wife. Um, but like when my peers were in Cancun, I was at Disney World, and that's that was a tremendous life. But like I just kind of lived it in reverse. Like, my peers lived like, they were, hey, I'm taking a semester abroad, and I took a semester at Corjon Road off Dover Road, and it was like, so now, like those same peers have young children or children, and I'm an empty nester. So like, you punch that plane ticket, man. You travel, you have those experiences that I don't want to, Langston Hughes, right? A dream deferred, if you will. Like, I don't want to, like I just knew my time would come later. And I've fallen in love with San Diego. It's between San Diego and New Orleans, those are the two towns I've been to the most, but San Diego kind of has my heart in a lot of ways. Went out there for some stuff, some modalities, some healing, and it really touched my soul. That's part two. But anyhow, yeah, I would say, jump, be a seeker of experience, right? And I'm trying to kind of live by that ethos. Like, come from a place of yes, shit. Hey, listen, you never slept on a sailboat, go sleep on a sailboat, man. You know what? Pull out the good china because like, something I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And a lot of this came with on one of my plane rides, the guy sitting next to me, he said, I've missed one plane in my whole life. I'm like, okay. And he's like, he goes, I swear my alarm didn't go off. But if it did go off, I slept through it. I'm like, okay. Like this is small talk, but this seems serious. He was supposed to be on one of the planes in September 11th, and he
Wow.
missed it. and
Wow.
he literally celebrates that, like the 10th, as like his rebirth. And he went to Australia, hiked, hiked the Appalachian Trail. I mean, dude, he like left his corporate job and was like, I'm supposed to be here. Very into the wild kind of like threw it away and was like, I'm gonna do me. Hiked the Camino and had all these experiences. He's like, I thought I was supposed to be doing it this way. Then something happened, and similar to your grandmother's message or my grandfather's, like, I don't need to miss a plane that has a tragic ending to hear that message. Like, yeah, let's just all punch our own ticket and you know kind of live in love and be kind to each other. And maybe we see each other on Instagram. I think that it's really just seeking of experience. It's important.
It is, man. Well, thank you for sharing that, Tyler. That's
Yeah,
yeah, that's incredible. Um, all right, man. Well, we are going to do a part two because there's so much we did not get into. But
please.
just to wrap up part one, I want to thank everyone who's taking the time to listen to Tyler and I chat today. I hope you found it entertaining, inspiring, informational. Maybe it was just background noise that got you through the day. However you want to consume it, that's up to you. But consume it in spades. And I just want to say to you, Tyler, thank you for being a friend.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. This has been tremendous and nothing but love for you.